Hi there, fellow peoples of the YouTubes and internets. How you doing? It's been a while since I've done one of these, so I've kind of made a few of the episode ideas here. We're gonna run with them. So, yeah, and I'll get to that in the next part after this little bumper here. But the topic for today is who's at fault, and that is in reference to all the disappointment of Nintendo doing DLC for things like Breath of the Wild and whatnot. So, yeah, let's get to that. Alright, that there was from the Is Zanmai soundtrack. It's not even really a soundtrack. Album. And I've probably mentioned it before. I probably even used that song before there too. But it is the Zanmai there was four. I think it was four albums. There was Is Zanmai, Soru no Kiseki Zanmai, Field Zanmai, and Boss Zanmai, and they were all just kind of like just kind of remixes of old Falcom music and all that sort of fun stuff. And this was the Dawn of Ys one. Now, I really like the original one off of the PC Engine. I mean, that one. It's smooth. It's smooth and good. But this one's good too. So I really enjoyed the Zanmai stuff, and I'm kind of waiting to see the next batch of those sorts of things. I mean, we get the arranged ones, and then we've had the evolution versions of Trails of the Sky, FC, SC the Third, Zeto, and Owl, and kind of. Still got, and then Sen had its arranged versions and stuff. Yeah, so they Falcom really works well at trying to profit off of the music that they do, and they're also awesome enough to say, hey, we're going to allow people to put up music all the time because they know that if people like this stuff, it attracts them. Very smart business model. That's how it got me. It put its little claws into me. And so, anywho, I hope you are doing well. I am doing good. It has been a while. I know I had a few episodes there towards the end where it was like there was a bit of a break, like a month or two, and then I did a couple, and then I just kind of went radio silent with it. Part of that was because I couldn't really think of a topic. I'd kind of ran out of topic ideas / couldn't find the ones that I had written down and stuff. And that's part of the thing is I don't want to just make these be some just sort of random here's it, and I know it kind of goes against the title, I guess, of this thing, Rambling Weekly, because you'd be thinking, oh, he's just gonna ramble about stuff and then it's just gonna go down the toilet. That's my toilet sound. But I don't know. I just got to a point where I thought I had made some really good, interesting maybe not topical, but just topics and stuff, and discuss those, and then just couldn't really think of anything. So I didn't want to be like, hey, let's just throw stuff out there. It wouldn't have been good because it would have been Rambling Weekly, and it wouldn't have been. I don't know. I like to more so dissect ideas and stuff like that, and sometimes you just got to take a break from it. That's really how it is. So how have things been? Well, since I've finished that, or since I had done, because this is part episode 22nd, since I had done the 21st, which was info everywhere, talking about the inundation of the infos. I finally finished up Sudraba. I'm actually about halfway through a third edit, you would say, because I did a soft edit, a more diligent edit, and then this is like the big one where I print it off and then go through pen in hand and edit the pages and stuff like that. So I'm about halfway through with that right now. I did about half of it in a week, like 7 days in a row, and then last couple days I've fell off the wagon on it, partially because I've just, I don't know, you get to a point where you're pushing so hard on that at times, and I started to feel it when I was starting up, because I'm on chapter 10 doing it. That is like, I don't really feel like it, and I know if I don't really feel like it, I'm just going to kind of get really crappy with it, and I don't want to do that with the editing of this, so I did finally get at least somebody, a couple people who have read through it to give me feedback, like beta readers, so, and they gave me good feedback on it and stuff, so, yeah. Thank you. But that's what else has been going on. Not a whole lot. Just kind of been doing my stuffs. So not really much else beyond that. I have been doing Let's Plays. If you catch on the channel there, I'm in the middle of a Super Mario RPG low level Let's Play of that, and that is driving me insane because I haven't played the game in like 8 years, so any of the little tricks and stuff to do well with it, I don't quite remember. Also, being a bit older, you get a little slower and that sort of thing, and it just like I like the game, but it is frustrating at some points. I'm like almost there at the point of this recording. I'm almost at the lazy shell. I'm almost got it. And once you get the lazy shell, it's just smooth sailing. The problem is because I'm playing it on my Wii, and if I bugger something up, like that's where that's part of what it is that if I was playing this on an emulator and I could just kind of like whatchamacallit, just kind of quick reset there to load last save state, I'd probably be doing a bit better. But because I suck at the Yoshi game and I seem to get a lot of coins instead of experience, it hasn't quite worked out as well as I had hoped. So I probably won't hit the level 9 goal, but I mean, and that's, I think, part of the problem is I'm so determined to try to get this at the level 9 thing that it's causing me to be a bit crazy about it. So it's just going to be just try to get as low level as possible. But yeah, doing that. I also did one of Luffy the Legend Returns because I never had played that, and I was like, you know what, that's what it kind of turned into. It's like I've not played some of these games, or I haven't been really playing any games, so not quite, but I haven't been playing as much with games and stuff, so it's like here's a way to put it in a manner so that I'll actually play something, and that's kind of how that's been. So yeah, that's really about it. And of course, I picked the worst time to like start doing Let's Play stuff because YouTube's algorithm just and that's a whole rant into itself. But I don't know. I get that in some hand you need to be more active, not simply just putting up stuff, but commenting and other stuff. That makes sense. But when they purposely try to cut down some of the other ones and raise up others, it's kind of, that's not, when you have an invisible heavy hand being placed on certain scales, it certainly makes it feel like it's a lot more a lot steeper hill to climb, we'll say. and that sort of thing. So it makes it a bit frustrating in that regard. But oh well. That's maybe about it. So yeah. I do appreciate if you've been listening to those and whatnot, to the earlier ones. That is something I need to bring up. The older episodes, I'm going to take some of the topics, not all of the topics, but some of the topics, and turn them into shorter, condensed kind of ideas. At least that's what I want to do. Doesn't mean that I'll actually be able to do it or that sort of thing. But I want to, for example, I really want to go back to the devaluing hype one and put that into about like a 10-minute video or something, so it's more digestible. I understand when somebody sees even a 40-minute or like a 50-minute video podcast kind of thing on YouTube, people will shy away from it. I get that. I've seen that since been uploading Power On Podcasts. At the moment that I started doing that onto this channel, it kind of really threw the algorithm and thus the channel into the garbage bin. I mean, I get it in one hand because it's like, well, you have this really long video, but you're only getting X amount of people watching so much of it. I get that, but in the same hand, to me, that's a bit of a crappy method to be kind of doing that. So, but yeah, so I want to do that, put them into shorter, just because there are topics I want to revisit, particularly with just this stretch of time. Now, doesn't mean I'll get to it in that time, no, but by golly gee, I'm like at my wit's end with people hyping stuff. So, but this is not what this episode's about. This episode's going to be about who's at fault, and we'll kind of go into that. So let us take a break. I will collect my thoughts, or attempt to, and go from there. So, be back. And welcome back. That there was basically, it's called Final Battle, and that is the Final Battle theme tweaked a little bit from Celceta. And I know some people didn't really like Celceta. I enjoyed Celceta. I think so excited I'm hurting myself over it. But I liked it. Incorporated something that hadn't been really a part of the series, and that was being an explorer, in the sense of you've got a map in your, so one that I can think of that did something similar wasn't it Star Ocean 3, where you'd go around and you'd have the map, and it would start to fill in the map and everything, and then you'd get a percentage of the map filled and all that. This did that, and it behooved you to do it, because it was like, hey, you are being pretty much hired to do this, and I like that, and they've kept that and they've kept it up since all of 3 games. Wait, I'm trying to think. Celceta, East 8 did it. Maybe it's only been 2. I'm like blanking. There's got to be another one there that I'm missing. I don't think they did that in East 7. I could be wrong, but maybe, I don't know. But in East 8, it's really good too. I like how they did that and stuff. So, yay! So for all the topics and everything, I had wrote down just a little paragraph at most, maybe just a couple pages, and I'm going to read it, because that way you'll have an idea of where I'm trying to come from this. And so the English language is structured in such a way to designate blame for occurrences. Not only just the language, but also culturally. So if a clock falls in a hall, we ask what happened. Well, a clock fell. That doesn't quite cut it, because usually you want to know the cause, kind of the why something happened. However, when it comes to and just to throw out there, Spanish and Japanese, they don't do that. It's particularly when you have things. If you have people who believed at one point, and still do, there's plenty of people. I remember a bunch of people in Japan that I would talk to that would say something similar about everything having its own essence. So if you said a clock fell, they'd be like, oh, okay. And then they don't need to determine a cause of guilt or anything like that. But However, when it comes to business and sales, companies follow the money. So when Nintendo started to put in DLC and online pay, why were the customers upset? Look at how Sony and Microsoft had done. The Wii U flopped, so Nintendo joined. So, who's at fault? So that is something I think, yeah, because a lot of people want to point at, oh, it's the companies for putting these things out there for doing that. What is the goal of a company? What is, like, what is it? I mean, not like the shady, like, laundering money out of kind of thing. Just a small business. What is the goal of a small business? It is there to provide a service for something that it isn't there. That's one. But the ultimate goal for it is money, because if you don't make money, the business goes under. That is right there, like as Occam razor as I can get, cutting it. That's the argument I would make. I mean, if somebody wants to argue something different about that, be my guest. But personally, without money, a company can't exist. So, I mean, they take people, for example. What is the most basic thing for people? To be able to drink and eat and then procreate. Those are your three things you need. Outside of that, everything else is... Even the procreation thing isn't really a big deal because of how populated the planet is. But that, like, at some point when things were looking dire for people during the bottleneck of genetic information back in, 18,000 years ago? 36,000 years ago? Somewhere around there. Somewhere in that long stretch of time. That was a big deal. That's why you had all those ancient cultures and, be fruitful and multiply and all that sort of fun stuff, because we were in trouble. But that whole other topic aside, that Microsoft and Sony have their online stuff as well as their downloadable content and everything. The Wii had the virtual console and stuff, and people threw a fit about the Wii stuff because they said it was kind of expensive, and also because you can't transfer. That there's a proper complaint, because you can't transfer from one to the other. That is a crummy thing there, Nintendo. But here's the thing, though. Take the Wii, for example. The Wii sold 100 million units? Maybe even more than that. But, somewhere around the triple digit millions there. And, that's not even right. Triple digit, that's a silly way to say that. But, what did the Wii U sold? The Wii U sold 16 million? Maybe, if I'm being kind. They didn't sell a lot of units, and they didn't sell a lot of games. Well, they did sell a lot of games, but not sort of. I mean, they actually sold better. Their games have sold better than some of the PS4 stuff, which is pretty funny. But people weren't really putting the money into it, particularly compared to the Wii. So you had this super meteoric rise, and then almost an equally meteoric plummet. And this has been going on for Nintendo since GameCube days. They've had trouble bringing in third parties because they've been trying to be a bit different, and this is one of the instances where being different bites you in the ass. But in also being different, they see how other companies Nintendo's not there to be your friend. And that's what always kind of bugs me with some people, how they're always like, oh, Nintendo, they always got you, and they put out these wonderful things, and it's kind of like you're really blinded by nostalgia. Like, I love some of the old Nintendo games. Like, don't get me wrong, I love, but here's the thing though, a lot of them seem to be, not seem to, but are like things like Mega Man. I love playing Mega Man on the Nintendo, but you know what? That was it. It was Mega Man on the Nintendo. It wasn't necessarily, as a kid, that I didn't think of, oh, this company Capcom made Mega Man, and I want to play some Mega Mans on here and stuff like that. That doesn't It is the work unto itself and nothing else. I don't care if somebody else makes something, because well, not somebody else, but if they make something else, it doesn't mean that it's instantly going to be good. If, take for example, with the whole thing with the Breath of the Wild and the DLC and stuff like that, Nintendo has seen how, look at Final Fantasy 15. Allegedly, from what I've read, all about on the articles on the interwebs, Final Fantasy 15 had copped up all their, they caught up to all their expenses and everything on like day one release sales, which is ridiculous since they've been working on the game for that long. But if that is true, and even if it wasn't true up until maybe like a month, maybe it took a month to cover the costs of that, they still have the seasonal pass and all the DLC stuff going on. So if people aren't buying the seasonal pass, they'll buy the DLC stuff. I'm not touching it, not one bit. I will say I have paid a little bit of DLC for Fire Emblem Awakening, because I was curious to see how it would go with getting characters like Roy and Marth and Leaf and stuff. And it's terrible. It was bad. It was, even though it was only like $2-3 basically, I don't think it was worth it. Personally, don't think it was worth it. And I just, but a company sees this going on, and they were probably getting good money from things like that. Look at, even though they didn't get the money from it, look at something like Pokemon Go. Look at the new Fire Emblem Heroes, how people are kind of, maybe not a ton, but there's people that are going into that and spending a bunch of money on that. Nintendo may not be getting that money, but they're seeing how that money is being made. And much like the Amiibo thing with Skylanders, or I think it's Skylanders. Is it Skylanders? Don't quote me on that. I think it's that. But, Disney's efforts with that sort of thing, they saw that and they're like, this is making money hand over fist. We're going to do this too, because people love these characters. And there are certainly some people who were really not for that. I certainly was kind of, I bought a few of them. I've kind of caved in. I got my Blue Bomber Mega Man. I got the Boo. I like the Yoshi one. I know this is a little bit of a getting into the weeds. I really like the Yoshi one, the Woolly World one. I love the aesthetic of it, so I thought that was pretty nifty. And I've got a Boo. I mean, how can you not get a Boo amiibo? Boos are awesome. Yay. But okay, getting a little sidetracked. Anywho, they saw these things, and then they're like, this is making a ton of money. We're going to do that too. That is what a company does. A smart company can realize their shortcomings, see where something else is doing good, and even if it sometimes blows up in their face, they will jump onto that bandwagon. Why do you think the Wii U had that goofy-ass controller to begin with that looks like it's from Fisher-Price? Because they'd seen how the market was with handhelds and all that kind of stuff. That's why. That Nintendo isn't there to be, best buddies. Certainly, they can make good games and attract people into that because that's how you get sales. But in the same hand, I mean, this is part of the problem too, is that when you get consumers who just kind of don't really, I guess for lack of a better word, have the will to say no for whatever reason, then they kind of grow lazy in that sort of aspect. So, I wouldn't say that was the case for the Wii U. I think it was they saw how the handheld market and all that sort of stuff went, so they tried to shoot for that as well, and then they sort of stumbled and failed, which is why they've kind of upped their game with the Switch. It's because, if we can fix this sort of thing, and that's why So they've tried to up their game on that. I mean, it was probably too expensive to do what they wanted to do initially with the Wii U, so they have done it with the Switch. But I mean, look at how all these other companies get tons of money through DLC and stuff. Nintendo, as bad as or as much as people want to say, the Nintendo seal of quality and all this sort of stuff, that's just nostalgia talking. Goomba Yokoi and all the others that were there during the heyday of the 80s and early 90s, they're no longer there. So the people who are running Nintendo aren't going to have those same So, I mean, yeah, you got Miyamoto. Miyamoto's still there, and the one guy they put in, that's kind of running it now. I think he's been there a while, but I don't think they ever quite had the same sort of. I mean, take for example Gunpei Yokoi. Gunpei Yokoi had the idea of lateral thinking with withered technology. So that's why you had things like the Game Boy and Game and Watch, and it wasn't like it was trying. That's why it beat out the Game Gear for the Game Boy, is because it wasn't trying to be the newest shiniest thing. It was just trying to be fun but also cheap, and at least cheap to make, that sort of stuff. And that's where I think it's you want to push the boundaries of technology to keep on progressing in that regard, but in the same hand, in solely kind of trying to rocket fuel yourself forward, you lose out on being creative with the other. That's why the Wii was like, it may not be the superpower thing, but it's a novelty, and it's doing that sort of thing, and it's not super shiny, and it's just kind of doing its own thing, and it was a creative expression, down a path that worked for him, business wise, and all that sort of fun stuff. But with the whole DLC and everything, consumers are paying for that. And so when a company sees that, or when another company who isn't doing it sees another company making mad bank over that sort of thing, what do you think they're going to do? That's the same thing with like myself. I am not a big fan of the style of game that Final Fantasy 15 is, that Metal Gear Solid 5 was, that Breath of the Wild seems to be, from what I can tell. I don't own a Wii U nor a Switch to be able to say anything other than what I've seen from stuff. Look at those styles of games. Massive, expansive games. And, they're open, this open world kind of concept and sort of stuff. And the people are spending a whole bunch of money on that. I mean, the Metal Gear Solid 5 one was also because it was like, hey, this is the end of the tale of Big Boss and how he becomes evil. So you had this sneaky little bit about how it was going to work out. Thank you for ruining that. But same with 15. Here's a giant world, go have fun. And because people are spending and buying those kind of games, other companies are going to say, hey, we could take 10 years too, or 7 years, or however long to develop it, and we can take that all that time to make a game too, and people will be interested in it because that's what consumers are buying. And so with Nintendo doing the whole, and I know Nintendo did the DLC with Smash Brothers as well as Mario Kart, and I didn't quite hear as much anger about it. Maybe I just missed it, but it certainly kind of came out a bit there with Zelda, and I wonder if it's just because Zelda seems to attract a really, I don't know how to put it, like a very different kind of fan base. Like, you got people who are the old guard who only like the 2D Zeldas, and some people who don't like the 2D Zeldas and only like the 3D Zeldas. You got ones that just like it, just Zelda period. And then you get, the subsets of each of those Zeldas. Like, myself, I kind of fit into the, the goofy kind of Zelda fan base. I more so like the side shoots. So I love Majora's Mask. I love Oracle of Ages and Seasons. I love Link's Awakening. What's A Link to the Past is okay. I'm not a big fan of A Link Between Worlds. Not really my thing there. Ocarina of Time I don't like really at all. I felt the game was really boring. But the I don't know, something about it, Majora's Mask I really like. Zelda 1 is okay. Zelda 2 I really enjoyed. Wind Waker was alright. There's a couple cool scenes in it and stuff. I love Twilight Princess, and I think a part of that is because I like the aesthetics, even though it's a really, like, I know people will say, well, how could you say Ocarina of Time is boring, but Twilight Princess isn't? Well, Twilight Princess also had some very, very impressionable scenes to me, like the jousting thing on the bridge, the OK Corral shootout thing, which was kind of interesting. It was a little wonky, but partially also the aesthetics of it really ensnared me. And yeah, and I love Skyward Sword. A lot of people don't seem to like Skyward Sword. I personally enjoyed it. But that all aside, it's just like a lot of people seem to be kind of upset about the whole DLC thing with the Zelda there. I don't know. Like like I mentioned before, I put in a little bit of money in the Fire Emblem Awakening one, even though I don't like that game. So, but I don't have a problem with DLC, but I have a problem when it starts to kind of when DLC has certain things. Like I wouldn't mind if there was like an additional chapter of something, say for a DLC, maybe like a year and a half, some way to like bridge a gap if you're going to have like a sequel or something to the next one, to kind of do that sort of thing, if that makes any sense. Whenever, for example, Trails of Cold Steel, if there was like a DLC thing that came out for it now, because Cold Steel 3 will be coming out sometime later this year, if they put out something now to kind of bridge that gap, that would make sense. I would not be so against that. That would be like, okay, they're kind of trying to buffer you up for the next, or butter you up, one of the two. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just like that, or like the whole, or just a lot of games in general. Look how poorly a lot of the stories are for games, and they're very poor. Come on. You cannot tell me those are good. I have not finished 15, so I cannot fully say, but from what I've played of 15, it is terrible. The story is just bleh. I mean, and then you don't tell me to, oh, well, you've got to, watch the 5-episode anime and the movie so you can get all the backstory and everything. No! A game should be able to stand on its own. Like, and it as far as I can tell, it hasn't really. And I mean, you could say, well, you've got to finish it before. You could say yes and no. You really don't have to finish something to be able to say, so far what is being presented to me is not very good, and I shouldn't have to force and waste my time to try to maybe like something, because no, that's not, like, if you understand story structure and character structure and stuff, you can look at a story and like look at the blurb on the back of a book and read read the first chapter, even not even the first chapter. You can read maybe the first couple pages and understand the kind of story that's going to take place, and whether or not you will possibly enjoy it. And that's, I'm 30 plus hours of it that I've played, and I'm just kind of like, this is going nowhere. And yeah, you could just blitz through it, and if I ever do get the feeling to blitz through it, I'll do that. But people say they like that. So when they say they like that, when they're spending all this money towards these sorts of things, the companies see that, and that's what they go for. They don't care unless, especially if you have something to say. If you say something, whether for or against, they don't care. Did you buy it or not? Because if you bought it, that's what they're going to do. They're going to be like, okay, well, they bought it, so you have to, as a consumer, that is all your voice technically is money, purchasing power. And that's, so when you have people paying into the DLCs, paying for whatever the monthly subscription stuff for the PlayStation service as well as the Microsoft service, Nintendo sees those things and goes, they're making money off of that, why aren't we? They don't care about your fifis or whatever. They don't like, they would I mean, Nintendo would be in a precarious position if people were like, yeah, I'm not paying for it. But if people rationalize to themselves, okay, they've done enough that I think that they deserve my money or whatnot, then that's what they're going to do. So if anybody has any sort of issues with anything that it comes to consumerism, you have to point the finger at consumers. Because if they are willing to pay money for these sorts of things, that is what they're going to get. They're going to get more of it until they see diminishing returns. I mean, look at all the zombie stuff. The zombie stuff outside of, Walking Dead and maybe a couple other things. Outside of that sort of stuff, it's really, really gone down. And the only reason like something like Last of Us really stood was because it wasn't quite zombie, but it was, character interaction and that sort of thing. But, yeah. And I'm not saying, people are bad because they do that. If people rationalize to themselves that that's good, by all means, have fun with it. It's your money. You can do what you want. That is not. I'm not making an argument against. Why are you doing that? That's not. You shouldn't be doing that. If you've got the money to do it, and it's not causing like, not pay your bills or to have people in your care to starve or anything like that, or if you don't have to even worry about that sort of thing, by all means, have fun with it. But do realize that even if you're rationalizing it and you kind of and you don't like it, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't like it and you're still paying into it, the company doesn't care. Company's like, oh, you're still paying for it. Evidently, you like it enough, so you're going to get more of it. So that's I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about that sort of thing. So, if you've got any sort of comments and want to continue the discussion, please let me know. Yeah. Also, if you want to and if you're not like listening to this on YouTube or something, hit me up on Twitter at Muragaru553, Muragaru553. Or maybe an easy way to do it would be like #RamblingWeekly. That way it's easy, I can find it and be like, oh, hey. But I'm more than willing to continue the conversation and stuff. Comments below and on the Twitters and all that sort of fun stuff. So yeah, that is it for this. Then we're going to wrap things up because I don't really have any comments to go over, which kind of makes sense since it's been a few months. So, break time. Welcome back there. Tongue-tied there. That was basically Crimson Wings there. If I recall right, if my memory isn't completely pooping out on me, that is from Oath in Felghana. Not of, in. There. And that's, yes. Yeah, so getting back into it, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm not going to do another quote or anything like that. Didn't really seem to get much in the quote field there, so might as well save you the time and effort of having to listen to me ramble about quotes I like and stuff like that. So, doesn't mean I won't bring them up during the discussions part. So that is that. I want to thank you for listening. If you could, please share it with people, like it, all that sort of fun stuff. That way, help bridge the discussions to other people, right? I mean, more than anything, it would be appreciated on my part. So, I think that does it. So I'm gonna play out to some Fina there from the good old classic Fina there. So, and hopefully I'll have it for. I mean, I've got I think I didn't mention this. I have about like 8 or 9 ideas. So, hopefully I'll put them out on a week to week basis there, and in that span of time, hopefully I'll think of something else. If not, please if you've got any sort of ideas or anything. I'm all ear to hear, and that sort of thing. Do not fear. I don't know where I'm going with that. Anywho, take it easy, everyone.